Across Thailand, a bold new generation of queer creators is rewriting the rules, turning confidence into culture, laughter into liberation, and love into the loudest revolution. They show the world that visibility is power, that happiness is a right, and that being yourself is the most fearless thing you can ever do. These are the icons shaping Thailand's future, and their stories are just getting started. Charlotte Austin didn't set out to be an icon. She just wanted to be herself unapologetically. TikTok noticed, then Thailand noticed. Then, the whole world started paying attention. With every post, Charlotte brings a unique mix of elegance and playful charm. She can be glamorous one moment, creating cinematic beauty for millions, then burst into laughter the next, reminding everyone that even icons are human. Her confidence is magnetic. She stands tall in the spotlight without ever losing the softness that makes her so loved. And here's the magic. When Charlotte shows her love openly, she proves something enormous. Visibility is power. Visibility changes culture. Visibility saves lives. Teenagers scrolling in quiet fear suddenly feel seen. Parents who never understood now begin to listen. People who once judged start to rethink what love looks like. Charlotte isn't just popular. She is a gateway to acceptance. Her presence on screen says, "Your identity is beautiful. Your joy is valid. You deserve to be celebrated." And when a single person stands confidently in their truth, countless others find the courage to step into theirs. Charlotte shines, and in that glow, the world becomes just a little safer for queer love. Some beauty queens chase perfection. Engfa Waraha chased purpose. Before the glittering crowns, before the roaring crowds, Engfa was just a young woman with big dreams and a voice that refused to be silenced. She worked multiple jobs, sang in small cafes, pushed through rejection after rejection, not because life was easy, but because she believed she deserved a place in the spotlight. And when she finally took the Miss Grand Thailand stage, she didn't just shine. She stood like she was born to own that stage. Her confidence was electric. Her presence is unforgettable. Her resilience is undeniable. But the real story began after the win. Instead of becoming just another pageant queen smiling politely for cameras, she transformed her crown into a platform. She embraced the LGBTQ+ community openly and unapologetically. She spoke with conviction. She supported with consistency. She represented with courage. Every message she sends is a reminder. You are allowed to love loudly. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to be fully, fearlessly yourself. Girls who once hid their true selves now walk taller. Fans who once felt invisible now see possibilities ahead of them. Because Engfa doesn't just stand in the spotlight. She shines it on others. Her legacy is not in the perfection of her poses, but in the power of her purpose. Not in the height of her crown, but in the millions of hearts she lifts. There are countless beauty queens in the world. Very few make others feel beautiful too. Engfa Waraha is one of them. When Oak So Shy walks into a room, something changes. Lights feel brighter, conversations get louder, and suddenly, every moment feels like a runway. Oak isn't just a performer, Oak is a statement. With bold fashion, daring makeup, and a camera-ready presence, Oak transforms the ordinary into the unforgettable. But the power behind Oak's art isn't just the look, it's the soul behind it. Queer creativity, for Oak, is more than aesthetics. It's liberation. Every post, every outfit, every performance says, "I exist, I belong, and I refuse to shrink." Oak represents a new generation in Thailand, one that isn't waiting for permission to shine. There was a time when queer expression had to hide in shadows, hoping for acceptance. Oak kicks those shadows away with heels that hit the ground like thunder and outfits that rewrite what it means to be seen. For every young person scrolling TikTok thinking they don't fit, Oak gives them the words. You don't need to fit, you just need to be. Oak doesn't follow trends, Oak creates them. And in that fearless originality, Oak is helping the world imagine a future where creativity isn't judged, it's celebrated. Maylada Thong learned early that laughter is power. Not the kind that makes fun of people, but the kind that gives them strength. May bursts onto TikTok with outrageous humor, quick wit, and the kind of personality that feels like a best friend you haven't met yet. One moment, she's joking about relationships. The next, she's dancing like nobody's watching, even though millions are watching. Behind every joke, there's a quiet rebellion. Because every time she laughs with her girlfriend, every time she calls herself a proud lesbian, every time she shows happiness without hesitation, she is breaking a rule that never should have existed. May teaches a beautiful truth. Being queer isn't a tragedy. It's a joy worth celebrating. Teens who once hid their identities now tag their friends in their videos. Parents who never understood start laughing too, and laughter opens doors that fear once locked shut. May doesn't give lectures. She gives people the freedom to smile about who they are. And sometimes, that's exactly how revolutions begin. Before she became a voice for thousands, Tata Champu was just a girl trying to understand herself in a world that often demanded silence. She grew up watching others hide who they loved, shrink who they were, and trade happiness for acceptance. But she always felt that pretending would cost her something sacred, her own truth. So when she opened her first social media account, she didn't choose a character to play or a perfect version of herself to present. She chose honesty. Her videos weren't filled with glamorous angles or scripted moments. They were filled with everyday realities, awkward confessions, late-night thoughts, heartbreaks that still stung, and the kind of joy that erupts from being loved for who you truly are. She shared stories not as a performer, but as a human being who knew how heavy it feels to hide. At first, she wasn't sure if anyone would care. But slowly, comment by comment, view by view, she discovered something powerful. People were listening. Not because she was loud, but because she was real. Girls who once deleted their messages out of fear now asked her for advice. Women who had never seen themselves reflected anywhere suddenly found a mirror in her words. Couples who had only ever held hands in the dark now celebrated their love under the sunlight of her courage. Tata didn't create a community. She revealed one that had been waiting. Every time she looked into the camera, she wasn't simply filming, she was reaching out. And on the other side of the screen, someone was finally breathing easier, sitting straighter, feeling seen. Her motto is unspoken but undeniable. If love is real, it deserves daylight. That is why she continues to tell stories exactly as they are. The laughter that bubbles up without warning, the arguments that leave hearts bruised, the small victories that feel like entire worlds shifting. Her courage doesn't roar. It echoes quietly, steadily, spreading further every day. Tata never set out to be an icon. She set out to be honest. And that honesty has become a lifeline for countless others. Because sometimes, the most extraordinary revolution begins with one ordinary person daring to live openly. Tata Champu is that person. And her story is still being written. Not in bold headlines, but in the hearts of everyone who finally feels proud to be themselves. Before the cameras, before the followers, before anyone labeled them a representation, there were simply two young men who chose each other. Tak Phongsakan didn't plan to become a public figure for queer love. He wasn't trying to send a message or make a statement, he was just living his life, one moment of love at a time. Their story began the same way many love stories do, with shy smiles, small jokes, and the growing realization that one person in the room mattered more than anyone else. What made them special wasn't perfection or drama, it was the everyday tenderness they allowed the world to see. Their videos are quiet in the most beautiful way. A shared morning coffee, a hand slipping into another while crossing the street, a head resting on a shoulder during a late-night movie. These simple gestures become declarations that many still fear to make in public. Tak never forces the narrative. He never raises his voice to ask for acceptance. He simply exists beside the person he loves, and that calm, unwavering truth speaks louder than any speech could. He shows that two men in love are not symbols or political talking points. They are just people building a life together. They worry about each other's bad days, celebrate little victories, argue over nothing, and laugh at everything. Their home is made not of grand gestures, but of steady devotion. For queer youth who stay awake scrolling through their phones, searching for hope in the glow of a screen, TAC offers something priceless, a glimpse of a future where love feels warm, safe, and ordinary. A future where a boyfriend isn't a secret, a relationship isn't a risk, and happiness isn't something borrowed in the shadows. Their love doesn't demand attention. It earns admiration. Because TAC proves a quiet truth that the world still learns slowly. Love is love, even when it whispers. And sometimes, the quietest kind of love is the one that changes someone's entire idea of what is possible. There was a time when girls like Minx Judarat blended into the background because the world refused to look at them properly. They were asked to soften their edges, grow out their hair, wear dresses they hated, and pretend their reflection matched who they were supposed to be. Every day felt like a negotiation between identity and acceptance. Then Minx stepped into the spotlight and changed the conversation without even trying. From the moment she appeared, with her sharp jawline and quiet swagger, she gave visibility to a kind of beauty that had always existed but rarely been celebrated. She didn't apologize for her style. She didn't compromise her expression. She claimed space simply by being herself. Her rise wasn't fueled by a carefully constructed image. It was powered by authenticity. When she smiles shyly at a co-star or delivers a line with that subtle confidence that only comes from knowing who you are, she isn't just playing a role. She is showing a generation of girls that femininity is not a single shape. Every photo shoot, every character, every candid moment online becomes a message. You belong here. You are not too much or too little. You do not have to earn the right to exist as yourself. The impact is quiet, but profound. There are young women who now stand straighter in front of mirrors. There are parents who understand their daughters a little better. There are hearts that beat more easily because Minx showed them they weren't alone. Her influence isn't just in fashion or fandom. It's in freedom. Minx represents the possibility of living without shrinking, loving without fear, and stepping into the world without apologizing for the space you occupy. She didn't wait for permission to be seen. She simply showed up, and in doing so, she opened doors that had been locked for far too long. Minx Judarat proves a truth many are still learning. Beauty doesn't come from fitting in. Beauty begins the moment you dare to stand out. Before the world knew her name, Nara Thepnupa faced a world that tried to shrink her. A world where trans girls were told to stay quiet, stay small, stay invisible. But Nara was never meant to disappear. She was born to take up space. Her journey wasn't shaped by permission. It was shaped by defiance. Every step of her transition was a declaration that she would decide who she is, what she looks like, and how brightly she shines. She chose her truth even when it was the harder road. She chose her beauty even when others tried to deny it. She chose herself. And now, when she steps in front of a camera, it doesn't simply capture her. It obeys her. There is power in the way she lifts her chin, fire in the angles of her poses, victory in every fierce glance that challenges anyone who ever doubted her. Nara's presence is not accidental. It is earned. For so long, trans women were edited out of the frame, cropped away by prejudice and erased by fear. But Nara refuses erasure. Her existence is not a quiet request. It is a statement that echoes far beyond the lens. Young trans girls, scrolling through their screens in the dark, hold their breath when she appears. In her confidence, they see a future. In her strength, they feel hope. In her femininity, they recognize their own. Nara is proof that womanhood is not something granted by society. It is claimed, it is lived, it is undeniable. She does not soften who she is to make others comfortable. She makes the world rise to meet her. Nara Thepnupa doesn't just take photos. She creates moments of liberation. She doesn't just exist. She dominates existence. And when she stands in the spotlight, she carries with her the dreams of those who were told they could never stand there at all. That is why she is unstoppable. Because every time Nara shows up, she makes space for thousands more to follow. Grace Ratha has the kind of beauty that turns heads, but what truly holds attention is the way she carries herself. She walks into a room as if self-doubt has never learned her name. The truth is, it once tried to, but she refused to let it stay. Before the followers, before the admiration, Grace had to navigate a world that wanted her to choose a box and stay inside it. Be feminine, but not too bold. Be confident, but not too loud. Be yourself, but only the parts that people are comfortable with. She broke all of those rules without ever raising her voice. When she posts a fashion look, it's not just about style, it is an act of celebration. Every outfit she puts on is a reminder that clothing is more than fabric, it is expression, identity, armor, and sometimes even liberation. She dresses not to please others, but to honor the version of herself that once dreamed of this confidence. Grace doesn't hide the labels the world tries to use against her. She wears them honestly, bisexual, bold, brilliant. She understands that identity isn't a puzzle to solve, it is a story to live. Her message is clear, steady, and powerful. Self-love isn't optional, it is survival. There are people watching her who spent years wondering if they were allowed to exist fully. They see her choosing herself again and again. They watch her embrace a life that is both soft and unstoppable. And suddenly, possibility feels closer. She doesn't tell her followers to love themselves, she shows them how. Every time she steps in front of a camera, she brings a piece of truth with her. The truth that beauty is not perfection, it is authenticity. The truth that your heart decides who you love, not society. The truth is that confidence doesn't appear overnight. It is built stitch by stitch through courage. Grace lives like someone who knows what it costs to hide, and that is why she refuses to shrink anymore. When she stands tall in a dress that makes her feel like a star, she sends out a quiet invitation to anyone watching. You deserve to feel at home in your own skin, too. You deserve joy. You deserve pride. You deserve to take up space. Grace Rotha doesn't just inspire individuality, she empowers it. And in doing so, she becomes exactly the kind of representation the world has been waiting for. There is a certain kind of bravery that doesn't come from speeches or protests, but from laughter, love, and the courage to be exactly who you are. Hin Nam Phan understood that long before the world did. Growing up, she looked around and saw that many girls, like her girls, who loved other girls, were taught to shrink themselves, to hide, to pretend, to live life in a dimmed version of the truth. But Hin refused to dim. She opened her camera, hit record, and welcomed the world into her real life. Her playful jokes, her goofy dance moves, her soft smiles with the woman she loves. In every video, she delivers a message without preaching a single word. Queer love isn't a secret, it's a celebration. Her audience, mostly young queer women, saw something they never expected. A future that looked happy, normal, beautiful. For girls who once whispered their feelings only in the dark, Hin's visibility became a flashlight, bright, funny, and impossible to ignore. She teaches them that love isn't something you hide. It's something you hold up proudly and say, "This is mine." And sometimes, the bravest thing a person can do is laugh loudly enough that silence can't swallow them anymore. Hin laughs. And because she does, thousands of others have learned to live louder too. Sergei Polunin is the kind of artist who comes along once in a generation, brilliant, unpredictable, almost mythic in the way he moves across a stage. He became the youngest principal dancer in the history of the Royal Ballet, but his fame didn't follow the usual polished path. Polunin danced with a ferocity that felt more like a confession than a performance, every leap filled with rebellion, every gesture soaked in emotion. His tattoo-covered body challenged the pristine expectations of classical ballet. His wild child persona clashed with the industry's need for discipline, and when he openly discussed his bisexuality, he shattered yet another barrier in a profession often built on silence. Polunin is a paradox, a storm inside a dancer's frame. His genius is volatile, his artistry explosive, and his truth impossible to ignore. He is Russia's most controversial ballet star, and its most unforgettable. Philip Kirkorov is excess, spectacle, and charisma wrapped in one dazzling package. For more than 3 decades, he has dominated the Russian pop world with performances that feel like entire universes, glitter, fireworks, bold costumes, and a level of theatricality that only he could pull off. To millions, he's not just a singer. He's a cultural monument, a man who built an empire on glamour and audacity. When Kirkorov acknowledged his bisexuality, it didn't just make headlines, it shook the foundations of a deeply conservative entertainment industry. He became a symbol of courage for countless Russians who had never seen someone of his stature live in truth. Philip Kirkorov didn't simply break the mold, he smashed it, sparkled it, and danced on top of the pieces. Sergei Lazarev has the kind of voice that fills arenas powerful, emotional, and unmistakably his own. As a two-time Eurovision finalist, he became one of Russia's most internationally recognized stars, known for his precision, passion, and flawless performances. But behind the spotlight was a man carrying a truth the world didn't yet know. When Lazarev came out as gay, he did it with humility and sincerity, opening a conversation about LGBTQ+ visibility in a country where such openness can be dangerous. His revelation was more than a headline, it was a cultural shockwave. Fans embraced him not only for his music, but for his bravery. Sergei Lazarev proved that no amount of fame can shield you from fear, and that choosing honesty in the face of that fear is the very definition of courage. Long before social media, long before representation became a global movement, Boris Moiseev stood alone, flamboyant, loud, and beautifully unapologetic. In a country where queerness was erased, Moiseev dared to be seen. His performances were part cabaret, part satire, part rebellion. His camp aesthetics, dramatic choreography, and unapologetic homosexuality created a character so bold that no one could look away. He was ridiculed, criticized, adored, but never ignored. Moiseev wasn't trying to fit in. He was trying to exist in a world that insisted he shouldn't. And he succeeded, becoming a pioneer whose courage paved the way for future generations. He was queer in a time when queer people had no platform, and that makes him legendary. Pavel Tabakov represents a new era, one where authenticity matters more than image. A talented rising actor with a growing reputation, Pavel could have chosen the traditional path: silence, ambiguity, safety. Instead, he embraced honesty and admitted publicly that he is bisexual. For young Russians, it was a moment of recognition, someone from their generation, someone in the spotlight, choosing truth over fear. His openness challenged the quiet, suffocating expectation that queer Russian celebrities must hide who they are to succeed. Pavel isn't just an actor. He's a symbol of a shifting culture, a sign that change, however slow, is possible. He embodies the courage of a generation that refuses to shrink itself anymore. Ksenia Sobchak is one of the most polarizing figures in modern Russia, a TV star turned journalist, actress turned political candidate, celebrity turned social disruptor. But beneath the glamour and controversy lies one undeniable truth: Sobchak has courage. In a country where LGBTQ+ rights are silenced, erased, or criminalized, Sobchak has repeatedly used her platform to defend queer Russians loudly, publicly, and without apology. She speaks when most remain silent. She challenges when others retreat. She risks her career and reputation by supporting a community that the political machine prefers to ignore. Whether you admire her or criticize her, Sobchak's advocacy is rare, almost unheard of in Russian public life. Her voice is polarizing, but it is powerful. And for many LGBTQ+ Russians, it is one of the few voices speaking for them at all. Oxymoron is one of Russia's greatest lyrical minds, a rapper whose intelligence, emotion, and political courage made him a generational symbol. Though he is not queer himself, he became one of the strongest public allies the LGBTQ+ community has ever had in Russian music. He openly condemns violence, discrimination, and homophobia in a genre and a country where such statements are considered dangerous. His willingness to stand with queer people cost him fans, attracted extremists, and placed him under constant political pressure. And still, he didn't back down. Oxymoron represents a rare form of bravery, using his influence not for comfort, but for justice. In a society built on silence, he chose resistance and earned the respect of progressives across the world. Renata Litvinova is not just an actress or director, she is a living aesthetic. Elegant, surreal, enigmatic, she moves through cinema like a dream brought to life. Her voice, her style, her presence, everything about her radiates queer iconography. For decades, her creative and personal partnership with the legendary singer Zemfira ignited fascination. Their bond, often romanticized by fans, became a cultural touchstone for countless queer women in Russia who had never seen their desires reflected in mainstream art. Renata doesn't need to label herself. Her work speaks in whispers and metaphors, in longing glances and artistic codes understood instantly by those who live between the lines. She is a muse, a mystery, and a symbol. A goddess of cinematic queer culture. Zemfira isn't just a rock star, she's a force of nature. Her voice, haunting and deeply emotional, defined the sound of an entire generation. For queer audiences across Russia, her music became a refuge raw, honest, and painfully beautiful. Though she avoids labels and rarely speaks about her private life, the imagery in her songs, the gender-fluid storytelling, and her long connection with Renata Litvinova built a mythology of queer longing around her name. Zemfira gave Russian rock a soul. She gave queer Russians a soundtrack. She gave silence a voice. Her mystery isn't a wall, it's a language. A way of saying everything without saying anything. Slava Mogutin's story reads like a novel, brilliant, rebellious, and ultimately forced into exile. As a young writer in Russia, he was persecuted for his homosexuality and outspoken political views. He became the first person in Russian history to be granted political asylum in the United States due to LGBTQ+ persecution. But exile didn't silence him, it liberated him. Today, Mogutin is an internationally celebrated photographer and multimedia artist whose work is bold, provocative, and unapologetically queer. His images explore sexuality, identity, and defiance, with a rawness that challenges every norm he grew up under. Slava Mogutin is living proof that sometimes freedom requires leaving home, and that queer art can rise from pain to reshape the world. Mark Pakin steps into queer roles with intention, and intention creates impact. He doesn't treat BL as a stepping stone. He treats it as storytelling that matters. Mark brings sincerity to every connection his characters form, making viewers believe in love that defies rules and breaks stereotypes. His rise signals a major shift. The next generation of actors isn't here to make queer visibility acceptable. They're here to make it celebrated. Mark Pakin stands at the front of that movement, passionate, thoughtful, and fearless. As the industry evolves, he's not just riding the wave, he's helping shape where it goes next. The future of LGBTQ+ media is brighter because he's part of it. Bright Vachirawat is the kind of star whose influence doesn't stop at the borders of Thailand. His name echoes in fan communities from Seoul to Sao Paulo, from Manila to Madrid, a global force whose light travels far. And with that influence, Bright chooses compassion. He speaks up for love in all its forms, reminding millions that LGBTQ+ fans are not outsiders, they are an essential part of his journey. His support isn't a publicity stunt, it's a consistent act of humanity. When he acknowledges queer fans, they don't just feel noticed, they feel valued. Bright's roles help normalize LGBTQ+ love as something soft, beautiful, and entirely natural. His allyship shows that real courage isn't loud sometimes, it's the quiet choice to stand beside those who need you. For fans who grew up feeling invisible, Bright's message becomes a lifeline. Love yourself. There is nothing wrong with who you are. Win Meta Win has a rare gift. He can turn a fictional love story into something that feels personal for every viewer. His performances capture innocence, confusion, hope, and heartbreak, the universal language of first love. But what makes Win truly important is what happened beyond the screen. His characters helped viewers who once dismissed queer stories suddenly find themselves cheering and caring deeply. Families watched together, cultures shifted, walls began to crack. Win showed the world that a romance between two men is still a romance filled with all the passion and tenderness audiences crave. By pouring sincerity into every role, Win didn't just act in BL, he helped redefine its place in global entertainment. Earth Katsumanet pours soul into every role he plays. He portrays queer characters not as symbols, but as human beings with hopes, fears, flaws, and dreams. There is honesty in his performances that resonates deeply with LGBTQ viewers, a feeling of finally being understood. Earth doesn't sugarcoat queer life. He illuminates it, showing its beauty and its battles with compassion and truth. By telling these stories with heart, he helps rewrite society's understanding, one scene at a time. Mix Sahapap brings a gentle magic to everything he does. When he plays queer love, it feels soft, like a hand quietly reaching out to say, "You're safe here." His kindness toward LGBTQ fans doesn't end when the cameras stop rolling. He embraces them as equals, with genuine respect and compassion. That kind of empathy, given by someone with a massive platform, becomes a powerful form of activism. Mix shows that love doesn't always enter the world through applause or headlines. Sometimes it enters through kindness, consistent, quiet, and transformative. For those afraid to love openly, Mix offers reassurance. You deserve warmth. You deserve happiness. You deserve love. Force Jirachapong performs with a boldness that refuses to be ignored. There's spark, passion, and undeniable intensity in his acting, and audiences can't look away. He approaches queer romance not as something taboo, but as something exciting and worthy of celebration. Instead of treating representation carefully like glass, Force treats it like fire alive, daring, thrilling. His rise signals a new era. Queer love isn't something to whisper about. It's something to cheer for. Each performance pulls LGBTQ stories further into the spotlight, where they belong. Book Cassidet performs with heart first, technique second, and that's what makes him extraordinary. He gives his characters history. He gives them depth. He gives them reasons to love and reasons to fight for that love. Whether depicting the sweetness of connection or the pain of rejection, Book brings audiences closer to the truth of queer lives. He challenges outdated ideas not through debates, but through raw emotion that anyone can understand. The book is proof that when you treat queer characters with dignity, the audience responds with empathy. He doesn't just tell stories. He makes people feel them. Apo Nadawin doesn't just act, he commands the screen. His bold, layered performance in Kin Porsche captivated an international audience and shattered outdated stereotypes of what queer masculinity can look like. Apo plays characters who are both powerful and vulnerable, showing audiences that love and strength are not opposites, but allies. For LGBTQ fans who have long waited for complex and fearless representation, Apo is a breakthrough, a game changer who refuses to play by old rules. Mile Fakfum challenges a decades-old narrative that masculinity must hide softness, affection, or attraction outside the norm. On screen, he embraces queer love with intensity and conviction, and the world watches captivated. His work proves that masculinity doesn't fade when love is shown openly. It expands, becoming more honest, more human, more real. Mile helps millions see that love between men can be fierce, romantic, and worthy of admiration, not ridicule. He isn't just an actor changing hearts in Thailand. He's helping change them everywhere. Christ Perawat didn't just rise, he sparked a wave. From the moment he stepped into the world of BL, his performances ignited a fandom that reached far beyond Thailand's borders. Suddenly, queer romance wasn't just a niche interest, it became a cultural bridge connecting fans from Vietnam to Brazil, from the Philippines to Europe. Chris's characters are passionate, stubborn, devoted, the kind of roles that make audiences feel every heartbeat. He proves that love between two men can be just as captivating, tender, and emotionally explosive as any classic romance the world has adored for decades. He may not hold a megaphone when it comes to activism, but his work speaks powerfully for him. Every scene he plays opens one more heart. Every storyline draws one more viewer into acceptance. Christ's impact is not measured in words, but in the millions who now see queer love as universal. His global fandom isn't just applause. It's a movement, and he helps set it in motion. Singto Prachaya brings something rare to BL: quiet power. He approaches queer characters with sincerity, portraying their joys, fears, and vulnerabilities with a depth that demands respect. His acting doesn't sensationalize love, it humanizes it. Every time he looks at his partner on screen, the audience sees recognition. Not of a trope, not a trend, but of truth. Singto makes sure viewers understand queer men are not side characters in their own lives. They love with honesty. They deserve tenderness. They belong. His performances soften walls that once felt unbreakable. One gentle role at a time, he helps replace stereotypes with understanding. Singto's revolution isn't loud, but it is profound, and it is lasting. Gulf Kanawut didn't just star in a BL drama, he reshaped the landscape of queer visibility. With his genuine commitment to storytelling and a chemistry that sparked global obsession, Gulf transformed curiosity into passion and passion into pride. He made queer romance feel exciting, modern, and fiercely desirable. For many young LGBTQ+ viewers watching him fall in love on screen, something clicked. This could be me. This love is real. This love is beautiful. Gulf showed that a romantic lead doesn't need to follow outdated rules, and neither does love. His presence helped turn BL into one of the most powerful cultural exports from Thailand, inspiring inclusivity across continents. He turned fandom into acceptance. He turned acceptance into visibility. And visibility changes futures. Gulf Kanawut isn't just admired. He's a symbol of what the next era of romance looks like. Musaposit possesses rare courage, the kind that speaks when others stay silent. He openly advocates for LGBTQ+ rights, pushing for representation not just in Thailand, but globally. Mew doesn't just portray queer love. He defends it. He uses interviews, music, and influence to challenge outdated norms. He shows young queer people that they are worth more than tolerance. They deserve celebration. His activism is a reminder that progress doesn't appear by chance. It appears because people like Mew push the world forward. Bilkin Putipong performs love like it is a living, breathing thing. His portrayals are delicate yet devastating, a trembling breath before a confession, eyes shining with fear and hope at the same time. When Bilkin cries, audiences feel their own hearts ache. When he smiles, it feels like sunrise. He doesn't treat queer love as a performance. He treats it as truth, fragile, powerful, worth fighting for. Every role he takes becomes a home for those who have been told their love is too complicated, too risky, too different. Bilkin shows them that their emotions are valid, their stories are worthy. Their love songs deserve to be heard without apology. His work is healing, softening scars left by silence, shame, and erasure. Bilkin isn't just capturing hearts. He's mending them, one scene at a time. PP Crit isn't merely stylish, he is a movement. With every outfit, every music video, every boundary-breaking moment, he challenges outdated rules about masculinity and identity. He blends glamour with grit, softness with swagger, turning gender expression into art. PP represents a new generation where different means dynamic, where fashion is language, where authenticity is power. He shows young fans everywhere that they don't have to shrink to fit in. They can expand, grow, and shine on their own terms. And people follow not because he asks them to, but because he inspires them to. In an industry that once feared nonconformity, PP Crit has proven that individuality is the future. He doesn't fit into a mold. He melts the mold and creates something iconic in its place. Saint Sepapong understands something many never learn. Fame is a gift and a responsibility. With millions of fans watching his every move, he chooses to stand with the LGBTQ+ community not only in roles, but in real life. He speaks when others stay quiet. He shows up when others disappear. He listens to fans whose stories have gone ignored for too long. And that matters. Because every time he uses his voice to support equality, someone out there feels safer. Someone believes they are worth defending. Someone dares to love without apology. Saint doesn't see representation as a marketing strategy. He sees it as humanity. His influence reaches far beyond screens, stretching into hearts that needed a hero who fights not with anger, but with empathy. Saint Sapapong proves that a true star isn't judged by how brightly he shines, but by how many people can see hope in his light. There are actors who entertain, and then there are actors who comfort. Taiwan does both. He has a gentle strength that makes people feel safe, whether he's portraying queer love on screen or supporting LGBTQ+ rights in his everyday life. His kindness isn't a performance, it's his character. At fan events, he listens. In interviews, he speaks with compassion. In advocacy, he stands firmly on the side of equality. Tay knows that allyship doesn't require grand gestures. It requires consistency, choosing love over judgment, dignity over ignorance, and courage over silence. Through every touching role he plays and every truth he supports, Tay sends a message that resonates deeply. Queer love isn't something to tolerate. It's something to cherish. His warmth reaches those still afraid to come out of the shadows, guiding them toward a world where love is soft, safe, and celebrated. Before BL became a global force, before international fandoms, before the world watched Thai love stories with admiration, there was New Thitapum, taking a leap into the unknown. He didn't choose BL at a time of guaranteed success. He chose it when the industry still whispered, still doubted, still hesitated. But New understood something important. Representation changes lives. With each character he brought to life, New made queer romance less taboo and more truthful. He helped audiences see love instead of stigma, joy instead of judgment. The movement grew. Borders fell. Millions found their way into the fandom. And New stood steady through all of it, a trusted face, a confident presence, a pioneer who pushed visibility forward simply by showing up with sincerity. He is one of the pillars that hold up the BL industry today. The kind of star whose impact will be remembered long after the spotlight moves. Gun at the Fan doesn't just deliver roles. He delivers truth raw, unfiltered, and unafraid. When he took on Not Me, he wasn't just acting. He was amplifying voices so often ignored. Queer youth demanding the right to live freely. Activists refusing to be erased. The brave ones are facing prejudice with fire in their eyes. Gun's performance wasn't polite, it was powerful. Not quiet, but loud with purpose. Every scene became a statement. We deserve rights. We deserve dignity. We are here. Through his art, Gun bridges screens and reality, proving that entertainment can spark revolution, that a character can become a rallying cry. He is more than a star who shines. He is a force who pushes. Off Jumpole doesn't need to shout to be heard. His kindness speaks loudly enough. His portrayals of queer love are soft, gentle, and deeply human, reminding viewers that love doesn't have to be dramatic to be meaningful. Through his warmth and sincerity, audiences don't just watch romance develop. They believe in it. They root for it. They learn from it. Off turns empathy into visibility, the kind that brings people closer instead of dividing them. He shows that change often begins not with activism on a stage, but with compassion on a screen. For fans discovering LGBTQ+ stories for the first time, he becomes a guide, someone who helps break down fear and replace it with understanding. His impact may be quiet, but its effects are profound. One heart at a time, he is building acceptance. Choi Hyun-woo is a rising voice in Korea's independent film scene, known for his queer short films that capture love, loneliness, and identity with breathtaking intimacy. His work doesn't seek to provoke, it seeks to understand. Each story he tells feels like a quiet confession, blurring the line between art and emotion. His short films, often screened at LGBTQ+ film festivals, are celebrated for their soft realism, the way a look, a silence, or a touch can say everything. Rather than depicting grand struggles, Hyun-woo's films focus on moments of tenderness between men who are learning how to love in a world that tells them not to. As both director and writer, he has built a body of work that reflects a deep empathy for the human condition. To many young artists, Choi Hyun-woo represents the future of Korean queer cinema, gentle, fearless, and full of heart. Known as Korea's nation's MC, Yoo Jae-suk is one of the most influential television figures in Asia and a quiet yet powerful ally to the LGBTQ community. While many celebrities avoid social issues, Yoo has consistently stood up for queer guests and colleagues on shows like Infinite Challenge, Happy Together, and You Quiz on the Block. His kindness is effortless but impactful. When others have made inappropriate jokes or discriminatory comments, Yoo has intervened with empathy, respect, and wisdom, often turning uncomfortable moments into opportunities for understanding. Though he's never sought praise for it, his actions speak volumes. He treats LGBTQ people with the same dignity he gives everyone else. For a mainstream figure with such broad influence, that simple consistency has changed hearts. To queer Koreans, Yoo Jae-suk represents what true allyship looks like: quiet, unwavering, and grounded in humanity. His example shows that acceptance doesn't always need to be loud. Sometimes it just needs to be kind. Min Jun-ho is one of Korea's most captivating dancers and choreographers, known for blending sensuality, emotion, and freedom into every performance. His movements challenge the rigid expectations of masculinity in Korean dance, infusing each routine with fluidity and vulnerability. Watching him perform feels like watching self-expression take physical form, a dance of defiance and beauty. Whether on stage, in music videos, or social media clips, Min's choreography celebrates the body as a canvas of truth. He encourages male dancers to embrace sensitivity and softness, proving that grace and strength can coexist. His artistry isn't just technical, it's spiritual, a reminder that movement can be liberation. Open about his queer identity and passionate about inclusivity in the performing arts, Min Jun-ho has become a mentor to younger dancers seeking authenticity. Through rhythm and motion, he embodies a new Korean masculinity, free, fearless, and unapologetically human. Lee Seung-hoon is a Seoul-based multimedia artist whose work lives at the intersection of gender, emotion, and social identity. His installations, often featured at pride events and progressive galleries, explore the fragility and power of love in all its forms. Through avant-garde sculptures, digital projections, and performance pieces, Lee turns queer existence into high art. His exhibitions often feature distorted bodies, broken mirrors, or layered voices, a visual metaphor for the fractured experience of living authentically in a conformist world. Yet his work is never cynical. It pulses with tenderness and longing. Each piece asks the viewer to look deeper, to see beauty where society has refused to. Beyond his art, Lee Seung-hoon mentors young queer creators, offering workshops that focus on emotional storytelling and creative freedom. His philosophy is simple. Art is not about perfection, it's about truth. In a country still learning to embrace diversity, his work stands as a testament to love's endurance and the power of art to heal. Park Jung-min is not just one of Korea's most respected actors, he's also one of its most quietly revolutionary figures. Known for his versatility and emotional depth, Park consistently chooses roles that challenge toxic masculinity and explore identity with raw honesty. From fragile outcasts to fearless rebels, his characters reveal the complexity of being human in a society obsessed with image. Beyond the screen, Park Jung-min has spoken about the importance of empathy and representation in storytelling. His advocacy for inclusivity isn't loud or performative, it's embedded in his work. Every project he chooses seems to carry a purpose: to dismantle stereotypes, to make audiences feel, to start a conversation. In interviews, he often reflects on the human need for acceptance and emotional freedom, themes that resonate deeply with queer audiences. To many, Park Jung-min represents a new kind of masculinity, one rooted in emotional intelligence, compassion, and vulnerability. His art reminds us that bravery isn't about aggression or dominance, it's about daring to be sincere. When fitness trainer and influencer Choi Si-hyun came out publicly, he didn't just share a personal truth, he redefined what pride looks like in Korea's fitness and wellness industry. With his strong physique and gentle personality, he broke stereotypes about what it means to be a gay man in a hyper-masculine environment. Through social media, Choi speaks openly about mental health, body positivity, and the importance of self-love. His posts balance physical strength with emotional transparency, creating a safe space for LGBTQ people who often feel excluded from fitness culture. His message is clear: true strength comes from authenticity. Choi Si-hyun's journey has inspired countless followers to embrace their bodies and their identities without shame. By standing tall in his truth in both the gym and online, he's proven that confidence isn't about perfection or image, but about the quiet courage to love yourself inside and out. Yoon Jin is a poet and novelist whose words paint the tender landscape of queer love in Korea. His writing blends sensual imagery with quiet melancholy, capturing the ache and beauty of connection between men who live in the shadows of judgment. Each poem feels like a confession whispered into the night, vulnerable, delicate, and deeply human. His collections have earned praise in both LGBTQ+ and literary circles for their emotional precision and lyrical beauty. Through metaphors of rain, light, and longing, Yoon explores the universality of love, stripping away gender to reveal something pure and eternal. Yoon Jin once said that poetry allows him to speak without asking for permission. That philosophy defines his work: art as liberation, language as resistance. In a world that still censors affection between men, Yoon's verses offer a quiet revolution, one built from empathy, not anger, and from love, not fear. Jinwoo Park's photography is a visual diary of queer soul, the hidden bars, late-night streets, and intimate moments that define a community both vulnerable and vibrant. His portraits capture not just faces, but feelings. A laugh shared between lovers, a glance across a crowded club, the stillness after music fades. His work strips away artifice, revealing the humanity within Korea's queer nightlife scene. Each image tells a story of defiance and tenderness, of people claiming space in a city that doesn't always see them. Park's camera lens doesn't sensationalize, it empathizes. His art celebrates authenticity, connection, and the quiet beauty of being seen. Exhibited in underground galleries and international showcases alike, Jinwoo's photographs have become a cultural archive of visibility, preserving the emotional truth of a generation. In his world, light and shadow coexist just like courage and vulnerability in queer life itself. Ha Sung-woon, former 101 and Hot Shot member, embodies a softer, more open form of masculinity that has captured the hearts of countless LGBTQ+ fans. Known for his gentle voice, expressive performances, and fashion-forward style, he's become an unexpected symbol of inclusion in K-pop's evolving landscape. Though never labeling himself, Ha Sung-woon has always embraced individuality and encouraged fans to live with honesty. His interactions with queer fans are marked by kindness and comfort, never hesitation. In interviews, he speaks of love and art in universal terms, unbound by gender, untouched by stigma. Fans often describe him as a safe space, a reminder that sensitivity, beauty, and emotional openness can coexist in male idols without fear or shame. Ha Sung-woon represents how K-pop can evolve beyond conformity, offering a vision of art that celebrates diversity and humanity. His quiet empathy has made him a cherished ally, proving that acceptance can be as graceful as a song and as powerful as a smile. Hong Sok-cheon is a true pioneer, a man whose courage changed the course of South Korean entertainment and LGBTQ+ history. In 2000, when he publicly came out as gay on national television, the country wasn't ready. Overnight, he lost everything: his acting jobs, his endorsements, and even some of his friends. But what could have been the end of a career became the beginning of a revolution. Hong refused to disappear. With grace, intelligence, and resilience, he rebuilt himself, opening restaurants, writing books, and slowly returning to television. Over time, audiences began to see not just a gay man, but a human being who had fought for his right to exist in the open. His restaurants in Itaewon became safe havens for diversity and creativity, places where Korea's youth could feel free to be themselves. Today, Hong Sok-cheon stands as a symbol of progress and pride, an elder statesman of visibility who continues to use his voice to advocate for equality. His journey from rejection to celebration shows that authenticity is not only brave, it's transformative. Holland's rise was nothing short of revolutionary. When he released his debut single, Neverland, in 2018, featuring a same-sex kiss in the music video, he became the first openly gay idol in K-pop history. The reaction was intense. Fans across the world cheered, while conservative voices criticized. But Holland stayed true to himself. His music speaks directly to those who felt unseen or unloved. With lyrics about heartbreak, loneliness, and longing, he captures the raw emotional experience of growing up queer in a society that often silences such stories. His gentle demeanor hides incredible bravery. Every song, every interview, every performance is an act of quiet rebellion. Beyond his art, Holland has become a voice of empathy for queer youth throughout Asia. He uses his platform not for fame, but for connection, to remind others that being different is not a flaw, but a form of beauty. Through his honesty, he has become a symbol of hope, healing, and authenticity for an entire generation. As one of Korea's first openly gay filmmakers, Kim Jo-kwang-soo turned cinema into a tool for truth. His movies, including Just Friends and Two Weddings and a Funeral, don't shy away from the struggles of queer love. Instead, they illuminate it. Tender, painful, funny, and deeply human. Each story he tells chips away at prejudice and replaces ignorance with empathy. But Kim's influence extends far beyond the screen. In 2013, he and his partner, Kim Seung-hwan, held a public wedding ceremony, the first of its kind in Korea. Though not legally recognized, it made international headlines and sparked a national conversation about marriage equality. Their union was both a love story and a political act, a declaration that love deserves dignity regardless of gender. Kim Jo-kwang-soo continues to mentor young filmmakers and advocate for LGBTQ+ representation in the arts. His courage has turned him into a cultural architect, shaping a Korea that's more compassionate, inclusive, and honest about love in all its forms. When Harasu, Korea's first openly transgender entertainer, fell in love with singer Mickey Jung, their relationship became a symbol of change in a nation still learning to accept gender diversity. Married in 2007, their union was one of the first high-profile marriages between a trans woman and a cisgender man ever seen in Korean media. Mickey Young's unwavering support for Harisu made him one of the earliest public allies in Korea's entertainment industry. Together, they broke barriers, appearing on talk shows, walking red carpets, and sharing their love openly at a time when most people in similar situations were forced to hide. Their marriage helped humanize queer and trans relationships, showing the public that love is love no matter who it's between. Even after their divorce in 2017, both continued to advocate for visibility and acceptance. Their story remains a landmark moment in Korean pop culture, proof that compassion and courage can spark understanding where silence once ruled. MRSHLL, Marshall Bang, is not just an artist, he's a movement. As one of Korea's first openly gay male musicians, he brings a soulful honesty to every note he sings. Growing up in a religious household in the United States, Marshall struggled to reconcile his faith and his identity. But music became his salvation, a way to express pain, joy, and truth all at once. When he debuted in Korea, he broke boundaries by infusing R&B with queer identity, something unheard of in the country's mainstream scene. Songs like Pose and Space blend smooth rhythms with lyrics about self-love and freedom, creating an atmosphere that feels both sensual and spiritual. Offstage, MRSHLL speaks candidly about his experiences with homophobia and internal struggle, turning vulnerability into strength. His interviews are as impactful as his performances, full of reflection, compassion, and hope. Today, he's seen as a trailblazer of modern Korean music, a man whose art heals, uplifts, and challenges a nation to embrace every color of love. Kim Ki-soo made history as one of Korea's first comedians and TV hosts to come out publicly as gay, breaking barriers in a field that often thrives on stereotypes and rigid humor. His decision to live openly wasn't just personal, it was revolutionary. When he revealed his sexuality, he risked everything: his image, his career, and his livelihood in a society that still treated queerness as taboo. But instead of fading away, Kim Ki-soo reinvented himself as a force of visibility and wit. Through his talk shows, radio appearances, and comedic sketches, he proved that being openly gay didn't limit his talent, it deepened it. His humor became sharper, his presence bolder, and his authenticity magnetic. Over time, audiences began to admire not only his comedy, but also his unshakable honesty. By laughing at his own struggles, he helped others see that sexuality isn't a shameful secret, it's simply a part of who we are. Kim Ki-soo's courage opened the door for other queer entertainers, proving that representation doesn't always start on the big screen. Sometimes it begins with a joke, a smile, and a microphone. In 2020, Kwon Do-woon, a young, talented trot singer, shocked the industry when he publicly came out as gay. Trot, a traditional Korean music genre known for its older, conservative audience, had never seen an artist take such a bold step. Yet Kwon faced the storm with grace, declaring proudly that he wanted to live honestly and stand as a voice for those who couldn't. His announcement wasn't a publicity move, it was a moment of cultural courage. Overnight, he became a national talking point. Some critics dismissed him, but many more applauded his integrity. What made Kwon stand out was his humility. He didn't try to be an activist, he simply wanted to be himself, and that truth alone became activism. Today, Kwon Do-woon continues to perform, sing, and speak openly about love and identity. His story represents a generational shift, a moment when authenticity began to break through even the most traditional corners of Korean music. His bravery has earned him the respect of fans far beyond the LGBTQ+ community, making him a quiet yet powerful symbol of change. Han Jae-hee is part of a new wave of digital creators redefining queer visibility in Korea. Through YouTube, podcasts, and social media, he invites audiences into his everyday life, from dating stories to reflections on loneliness, beauty, and identity. His storytelling is raw, witty, and deeply human. Unlike many who speak from a distance, Han Jae-hee speaks from experience. Living as an openly gay man in Seoul, he discusses the real challenges of being queer in a culture that often values silence over honesty. But what makes his content powerful is the warmth behind it. He doesn't just talk about struggle, he celebrates love, friendship, and the joy of living truthfully. Jae-hee's online presence has inspired thousands of young Koreans to embrace self-acceptance and find community. By showing that queer life is not just about hardship, but about humor, hope, and connection, he has become one of the most relatable and important queer voices in Korean digital media today. Kim Min-soo is an independent filmmaker whose lens captures the beauty and pain of queer existence in Korea's underground cinema scene. His works, often screened in small film festivals and art houses, explore love, identity, and repression with unflinching honesty. Min-soo's stories don't idealize queerness, they humanize it. He portrays quiet moments, two men holding hands in a dark alley, a lonely confession whispered in an apartment, a fleeting smile between strangers. His films, sometimes raw and minimalist, carry an emotional intensity that transcends language. In interviews, Kim Min-soo has spoken about how difficult it is to find funding for LGBTQ+ stories in Korea. Yet he persists, crafting films on small budgets, driven by the belief that art must reflect truth. His voice may not echo through multiplex theaters, but in the hearts of those who see his work, it resonates deeply. Kim Min-soo stands as a guardian of queer cinema's soul, proving that authenticity matters more than applause. Best known as a member of the legendary K-pop group God, Danny On has long been recognized not just for his music, but for his open-mindedness and compassion. In an industry where silence on social issues is the norm, Danny stood out for speaking up publicly, defending gay fans, and criticizing homophobia within K-pop spaces. His support wasn't performative or political, it was deeply human. He used his platform to promote empathy, reminding fans that love and respect are universal values. Over the years, he's become a quiet ally, someone who doesn't seek attention but uses his voice when it matters most. Danny On's kindness and emotional intelligence have earned him admiration from both LGBTQ+ fans and fellow artists. In a world that often confuses neutrality with safety, his willingness to stand beside queer fans without hesitation sends a powerful message. True allies don't just tolerate, they uplift, protect, and affirm. Kang Sung-yoon, the multi-talented leader of YG Entertainment's boy group, Winner, stands out in K-pop for his courage to speak freely about self-expression, individuality, and acceptance. While never labeling himself, his consistent support for LGBTQ fans and his refusal to conform to rigid gender norms have made him one of the most respected allies in Korean pop culture. In his music videos and stage performances, Kang embraces fluidity, whether through emotional storytelling, fashion that blurs boundaries, or lyrics that reject judgment. He has spoken openly about how art should never be confined by gender or expectation, and how people should feel safe expressing who they truly are. To fans who feel unseen, Kang Sung-yoon represents a voice of validation, an idol who uses fame not to maintain an image, but to inspire freedom. In an industry that often values silence over sincerity, he shines as a reminder that true artistry includes empathy, diversity, and courage. Lee Dong-hwan has built his reputation as one of Korea's most fearless queer theater actors, using the stage as his battlefield for truth. With every performance, he dives deep into characters struggling with identity, intimacy, and self-acceptance, giving audiences a raw glimpse into the complexity of queer life. His plays often explore what it means to love and be loved in a society that refuses to see you. Lee doesn't just perform, he embodies vulnerability. His portrayal of queer characters challenges stereotypes and opens hearts, reminding viewers that behind every label is a human story full of longing and beauty. In interviews, Lee has spoken about how theater allows him to live truthfully, even if only for 2 hours under the lights. That honesty has earned him immense respect within the arts community. He is not just an actor, he is a mirror of courage, reflecting the quiet resilience of Korea's queer community through every word, gesture, and breath on stage. Sung-yeon is a visual artist and painter whose work turns queerness into poetry. Through surreal imagery and dreamlike symbolism, their art explores the intersections of beauty, love, pain, and transformation within LGBTQ+ identity. Each brushstroke feels like a confession, soft, vulnerable, yet defiantly alive. Their exhibitions often feature distorted bodies, blooming flowers, and androgynous figures that exist between fantasy and reality. To Sung-yeon, queerness is not a statement, it's an ecosystem, a visual language of color and feeling. They've described art as a way to reclaim tenderness in a world that teaches us to hide it. Beyond galleries, Sung-yeon's work circulates widely online, where it has inspired young queer Koreans to see their emotions reflected in something sacred. Their art is a quiet rebellion, not loud or political, but deeply personal, reminding us that beauty itself can be resistance. Jung Young-jun is a writer, journalist, and LGBTQ+ activist who has devoted his voice to documenting the real lives of queer people in modern Korea. Through essays, articles, and social commentary, he sheds light on the struggles and triumphs of a community that continues to fight for recognition and equality. His writing blends journalism with intimacy. He tells stories of love, fear, and resilience, often interviewing those whose experiences rarely make headlines, from closeted youth to trans activists and same-sex couples navigating everyday life. His words challenge stereotypes and replace stigma with understanding. Jung's activism doesn't stop at the page. He frequently participates in pride events, panel discussions, and advocacy campaigns, urging lawmakers and citizens alike to embrace compassion over prejudice. His mission is simple but profound, to ensure that no Korean LGBTQ+ person ever feels invisible again. Jung Young-jun stands as a chronicler of truth and empathy, a voice that history will remember. Kim Tae-hwan is redefining what it means to be a male fashion model in Korea. With his tall frame, sharp features, and serene aura, he has graced international runways. But it's his openness to androgyny and gender diversity that makes him unforgettable. In photo shoots, Kim effortlessly shifts between masculine and feminine energies, embodying the fluidity that modern fashion celebrates. He often speaks about how beauty is not confined to gender, encouraging others to express themselves freely through style. His confidence challenges the narrow ideals of Korean masculinity, showing that elegance, vulnerability, and grace belong to everyone. Beyond modeling, Kim Tae-hwan uses his influence to support younger artists who struggle with identity in conservative spaces. His message is consistent and powerful. Self-expression is the highest form of strength. Through his quiet defiance and radiant authenticity, Kim stands as one of Korea's most important symbols of gender inclusivity and modern beauty. Bambiha is one of South Korea's most beloved openly gay YouTubers and lifestyle creators, using digital media to build community, empathy, and courage. Through heartfelt videos about dating, friendship, coming out, and self-care, he gives voice to the experiences many queer Koreans are too afraid to share. His approach is both educational and deeply personal, equal parts humor, honesty, and hope. What sets Bambiha apart is his emotional transparency. He doesn't glamorize queer life. He talks about the real struggles from family rejection to loneliness, while also celebrating joy, love, and chosen family. His warm presence has helped countless viewers feel seen and supported, especially young people still questioning their identities. In a culture where silence still surrounds queerness, Bambiha's channel feels like a sanctuary. His videos remind audiences that vulnerability is not weakness, it's the beginning of healing. By sharing his story, he has become a digital activist for authenticity, turning the screen into a mirror where others can finally recognize themselves. Ryu Jimin is part of a new generation of Korean creators who are using visibility as activism. As a model, stylist, and influencer, Jimin challenges traditional ideas of masculinity through his unapologetically queer aesthetic. His social media presence, filled with fluid fashion, bold makeup, and artistic expression, turns style into a language of freedom. Every photo, every runway walk, every collaboration carries a message. Beauty has no gender. Ryu Jimin refuses to conform to the rigid molds of Korean masculinity, instead celebrating vulnerability, softness, and self-expression. His approach to fashion isn't just about clothing, it's about identity as art. Through his courage and creativity, Jimin has built a loyal following of fans who see themselves reflected in his work. He represents a generation that's done hiding, proving that confidence and authenticity are far more powerful than tradition. In a world that often values conformity, Ryu Jimin reminds us that queerness is elegance, not rebellion. Oh Kwon, from the popular boy group Block B, may not have come out as LGBTQ+, but his energy and artistry have long resonated with the queer community. His gender-bending performances, open-minded fashion choices, and vocal support for LGBTQ+ rights have earned him deep admiration from fans who see him as a bridge between pop culture and queer empowerment. In a K-pop world often obsessed with perfection and uniformity, Kwon has stood out for his willingness to play with androgyny and challenge gender norms. Whether performing in bold makeup, experimental outfits, or emotionally vulnerable concepts, he embodies a kind of creative freedom rarely seen in male idols. Beyond the stage, Kwon has spoken about individuality and acceptance with genuine warmth. To many fans, he represents an important kind of allyship, not performative, but lived through empathy and authenticity. His art celebrates the full spectrum of human expression, and his presence in the industry helps create space for others to shine without fear. Few idols have walked the line between pop stardom and personal authenticity as gracefully as Kwon. Known for his flamboyant stage presence, fearless fashion, and boundless energy, Kwon has become an icon of gender fluidity in Korean entertainment. From his early days on We Got Married to his electrifying solo performances in Heels, he's shown that confidence doesn't need to fit into a box. His portrayal of Jamie in the Korean production of Everybody's Talking About Jamie, a musical about a young drag performer, became a cultural moment, highlighting his emotional depth and dedication to representation. Offstage, Kwon is calm, articulate, and deeply reflective. He often speaks about how hard it was to express himself in an industry that expects male idols to act strong and emotionless. But through his courage, he's become a symbol of freedom, artistry, and emotional honesty, a reminder that self-expression is a form of strength, not rebellion. In 2017, Hansol, real name Kim Hansol, broke boundaries when he revealed that he identifies as asexual and fluid, a rare and brave declaration in the K-pop world. His honesty about self-identity, mental health, and emotional struggle made him one of the first idols to discuss sexuality in such an open, personal way. Hansol's vulnerability resonated with thousands of fans, especially those who felt unseen in the binary narratives of gender and orientation. He turned his platform into a safe space for introspection and acceptance, reminding people that identity isn't a performance, it's a journey. Beyond music, Hansel's art and choreography reflect the depth of someone who has lived through confusion, growth, and self-discovery. His openness about being asexual helped educate a generation of fans who may have never encountered that concept before. Through quiet courage and sincerity, Hansel became a voice for those who exist outside labels, gentle, honest, and free. Leo J is one of Korea's most celebrated makeup artists, beauty influencers, and television personalities, known not only for his artistry but also for his pride. Openly gay and unapologetically himself, he has built a massive following through creativity, confidence, and authenticity. As a YouTuber and beauty educator, Leo J has redefined what it means to be a man in Korean beauty culture. He encourages everyone, especially men, to see self-care and makeup not as vanity, but as self-expression. His tutorials often blend humor with empowerment, reminding viewers that beauty has no gender and self-love has no limits. Off-camera, Leo J uses his platform to advocate for acceptance and mental health, sharing his own struggles with vulnerability and strength. In a society where queer visibility is still evolving, he stands tall as a modern role model, elegant, brave, and full of light. His work proves that sometimes revolution begins with a brush, a smile, and the courage to say, "This is who I am."